So I just finished my therapy earlier and I am so fucking mind blown. I realized that in my almost all of my episodes I've talked about depression and anxiety, but I haven't really focused on mania. The reason behind it is because I am diagnosed with bipolar type 2 disorder. And for the benefit of those who are just listening for the first time, or you may have forgotten it, I'm gonna define what bipolar disorder is to begin with, and then the difference of type 1 and type 2, because there are two types. So I was diagnosed with type 2. So bipolar disorder is a mood disorder. Simply put, your mood can go out of whack. It can shoot up and shoot down. So bipolar disorder is not really when you're happy or you're sad. It's a mood. So when you're manic or when you're having a episode of mania, your mood is really elevated, and it can manifest into different things, like feeling confident, feeling really brave. But I don't want to spoil what I want to discuss today, so I'm just gonna touch on that in more detail later. And then the other pole is depression or a depressive episode, which I've talked about a lot of times, but it's essentially the same as, well, it has the same symptoms of those with clinical depression. So it's the absence of purpose to live, unable to bathe, unable to get out of bed, unable to eat, etc., etc. Okay. Now, the reason why I haven't really talked about mania that much is because I'm diagnosed with type 2. Bipolar type 2 disorder, or people rather with bipolar type 2 disorder, don't really have manic episodes. The more prevalent mood is the depression. They can have moments of elevated mood, but just really brief moments of it, and milder versions. So it's called hypomania. It's like quasi mania. That's the thing. That's a funny thing about this disorder, right? It can manifest in like, they appear to be normal behavior, but they're actually not. Like when someone is overly passionate or overly excited or overly creative, that can be hypomania. Anyway, type 1 on the other hand has both poles, so the mania and the depression. So they go into a manic episode and then they crash into a depressive episode. So why am I talking about it now? Because apparently, well, at least my therapist and I think that I'm type 1, that I've always been type 1 all this time. Well, I still have to confirm it with my psychiatrist because my therapist can't make that call. Again, it's the psychiatrists who make the diagnosis, calls the shot. But it's really clear based on what we've been discussing so far. So first would be, I think the first reason that my therapist and I believe that I'm a type 1 is because of what happened recently in October. So sobrang hyper ko, sobrang excited ko. It was my birthday. And that could have been the trigger. So again, 'di ba? Parang you would think that's just someone is just excited for her birthday. But dami ko kasing gusto sabihin. I just want to say kasi people think disorder laging parang crazy or weird or something out of the ordinary. but it can be a mundane thing as well, a normal thing as well. So anyway, I don't want to get lost. So I was so excited, really excited. Like, excited ako dun sa mga birthday dinners, excited ako to dress up, excited ako to put makeup on, excited ako to go to the beach, excited ako to be in a bikini, all that, take pictures, super excited. And then the last day of October was Halloween, which is my favorite holiday. And I was so excited with my costume as well. Well, I like playing dress up. And I had this Halloween party with really fun people. So again, I was super excited. And then that's when I crashed in November into a depressive episode, right? So that's the first indicator that, looks like I do have manic episodes, because that lasted for more than a week. So I learned from my therapist and from back in the day in abnormal psychology in Lasal that a manic episode is, and I just have to read it, can be a persistently focused or increased goal-oriented activity or energy that can last at least a week, and it's present more than a day. And that's just what happened, right? That was a month long of increased energy or increased goal-oriented activity, because the dinners and the parties and all that. And I just remember that the psychiatrist who diagnosed me with bipolar type 2 disorder, she said that she thinks I've always had it since I was younger. At the time, yeah, it made sense. It made a lot of sense, but it didn't occur to me that it was both manic and depressive episodes. Now that I've been having this conversation with my therapist that looks like I'm a type 1, I started looking back and realized that, wow, I did have manic episodes. Like, I remember in college, I would be, like, there were nights that I would get so excited not to sleep. Like, what the fuck? Bakit? Bakit ka magiging excited huwag matulog? But it happened. Sobrang excited ko na huwag matulog, and then I would make myself iced coffee the whole time, and then I would just be on Twitter. At the time kasi hindi pa uso yung smartphone, so you had to like log into your laptop or your desktop, whatever, and go online sa mga social media platforms. So I was on Twitter and I was drinking iced coffee, I was listening to music, and I just remember feeling na sobrang high na high ako. I'm so happy, I'm so happy, I'm so inspired, because at the time I would also write. I liked writing, and I honestly can't remember if nangyari siya ng buong week, but I remember going to school completely sleepless and still feeling so energized. And then I also had moments, because recently, so this is, I guess, a bit related to, no, it is related, but recently my therapist and I have been discussing that I have a tendency to obsess on things, right? And apparently, it's also a symptom of mania, or that can be in itself mania, because like I said earlier, persistently focused energy on something or someone. So anyway, I remember yung mga time na hindi ako natutulog. And then I was so obsessed with this song. It's Murasaki Blue. Forgot the band's name. But until now, it's still my favorite song. I forgot the band's name. Anyway, it's Murasaki Blue. And I was so obsessed with the lyrics. I don't know, man. Like, to be honest, I can't tell the difference anymore. Like, I love the song, and there are a lot of songs that I really, really love, and I don't know, I don't know if it's normal anymore, but whatever. I guess anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I was really obsessed with this song. And nung time na hindi ako natutulog, I would message a lot of my friends and telling them how obsessed I was with the song and why. Like, I would describe what I thought about the lyrics, what I thought about the sound, and etc. And at the time, I didn't really think that was weird. Or I guess it was weird. Well, no, I didn't think it was weird, but of course my friends would think it was weird, but they would just think that it's just Lara being herself, Again, that's the thing about disorders. We think na lagi siyang parang some grand, crazy thing. Those things that you see in the movies, mapatay ng tao, or yung mukhang catatonic or whatever. But really, simple behaviors can be symptoms of a disorder. Anyway, I don't know which to discuss first. So I told you earlier na mga times na ayoko matulog, plinano kong huwag matulog, na I would spend my time writing. I was more creative, or I am more creative when I'm not doing good mentally. So, mas nagpipeak yung creativity ko when now, well, at least I know now, I'm in a manic episode. I used to write a lot of poetry and draw a lot, and that's also the reason why we have artists. So I can't remember what Van Gogh's, how do you pronounce it? Whatever, Van Gogh's disorder is. Was it skits? I can't remember. But anyway, it's the reason why some artists are, geniusly, is that an adverb? Anyway, are geniusly creative. Most of the time it's because they have a disorder and they choose not to treat it. Because them being hyper focused on a certain thing makes them great at it. And now I've also learned from my therapist na people with bipolar disorder are high potential people because they can focus on something so much that they're become so good at it. And nakaka-relate din ako doon kasi I remember being told at work that when I'm there, I'm really fully present, like I really do great at work. Pero pag nawala ako, and those are the times that I crash into a depressive episode, nawawala ako bigla. Like literally, nawawala ako bigla, like for a week or weeks. And I'm on medical leave now, but I guess it's just better now that I have an understanding of my disorder, that this is what happens, this is what triggers which. Again, insight is such a powerful thing. So before, like, nangyayari lang lahat to nang hindi ko alam. So I didn't know how to manage them, right? I didn't know when I was about to go into a manic episode. I didn't know that I was crashing from a manic episode into a depressive episode. But now, like with this, all this insight, and I continue learning a lot about my disorders. Alam ko na kung ano yung nangyayari. Like when it's happening, right? Suddenly, it loses its control over me. Anyway, going back. So, I was saying that most artists have a disorder. That's why they're genius. And I also said na mas creative ako when I'm not doing okay or when I'm in a manic episode. And some people really choose not to treat themselves. But ako, I prioritize being better. Mas gusto ko magkaroon ng peace of mind than to be creative, to be honest. I don't know, I guess to each his own, you know? Ang tingin ko kasi, you can still find another alternative source of your creativity. Like, okay, I can't write as artistically as I used to before, but then I can write about mental health and help people, you know, with a healthy mental state. I can do other things. I can function, you know. Well, again, I guess to each his own. And I just choose to be healthy. What else? Oh, so I mentioned at the start that I will touch on Mania in more detail. So, bukod pa dun sa binigay ko sa inyong example when I was in college na pinaplano kong huwag matulog, other manifestations of mania can be sexual promiscuity or being socially active or like spending a lot of money, like beyond your means. Pwede rin siyang I think that's about it. Well, I think those are the symptoms that I know of. Basta activities that can have bad consequences. So, dalawa siya eh. Like, it can lead to a good thing. Like, diba, I mentioned earlier, like, pwede kang maging high potential. And that can be a good thing as long as, you know, you keep yourself in check. Now, okay, I'm, you know, at the height of my manic episode, so I need to tone things down a little bit so I don't crash. But then, it can also be a bad thing if the activity can lead to bad consequences. Like what I just mentioned earlier. I mean, sexual promiscuity, that's fine, you know? If it makes you happy, go ahead, right? But if it doesn't, if it leaves you feeling empty or I don't know, then it's a bad thing. What else about mania? I think that's about it. I don't know who can relate to this. Like, there are a few people who have reached out to me with the same disorder. I think yung pinaka-importante lang to remember about manic episodes or mania is that they can be destructive. They can disrupt your life and they can be destructive. Like what I mentioned earlier, right? Activities that can be bad for you. Like hyper-focusing on someone, hyper-focusing on work too much, being sexually active na hindi na okay for you, or anything like that. It can be very destructive to you or dangerous for you. Usually, pinapakita sa movies. Like, people who run around naked. Ano rin kasi yan that's a manic episode. So, sobrang extreme naman nun, diba? But, yun na nga. That's why it's important to keep it in check. To have insight. To stay consistent with your consultations, therapist, medications, whatsoever. Or if you don't have anything, listen to my podcast. Because seriously, this podcast exists so I can share what I've learned, what I realized, lalo na hindi accessible sa atin ng mental health care. Anyway. Okay, I'm 21 minutes in. Siguro, before I stop talking, because I've been talking a lot, other examples of symptoms of manic episodes would be, it can actually be delusional na nga eh. So delusions, thoughts that aren't real. Like, I remember in my OJT, on the job training, I've handled patients with bipolar disorder, and one of them thought na kaibigan niya si Cory Aquino. Like, that person firmly believed na kaibigan niya. So mania can go as far as that. But again, sobrang extreme nun. And it's not always the case. Again, for those without a disorder, or actually in general na lang, siguro lahat na lang ng tao, just be, I mean, some people can come off as annoying, but you don't really know where that's coming from. I mean, importante to like protect your boundaries. I advocate for that as well. But then judging people though, like we don't know, ang dami sa atin na hindi diagnosed, walang access to therapy, hindi nila na-realize lahat to, right? So if you're listening, meron kang mas understanding na ngayon, and I hope like you can extend that understanding to other people. Kasi hindi lahat ng symptoms or hindi lahat ng disorders, mental health disorders, can be extreme. They can be normal things. Like your coworker na sobrang bibo sa work, tas bigla nang mawawala. Don't judge that person. And yeah, I'm kind of referring to myself. Because there was a time na sobrang motivated ko at work, tapos bigla na lang mawawala. And I was judged for that. I think that's it for today. I hope you learned something, and this is just really fresh from my conversation with my therapist. So pardon me if hindi organized yung thought process ko. Or maybe I should stop apologizing, because that's how podcasts should be, I think. Anyway, I'm obviously doing a bit better. I'm cleared to return to work on half day next week, so yay. Yeah, that's it. Bye.